Wow. Sorry. I had network issues. Sorry about that. My network came in the way. Sorry, you as well. Sorry. All right. So let's just give people 5 minutes to join up again. Sorry about the whole brouhaha. So sorry about the break in transmission. It was totally network. Please, sorry about that. So sorry about the break in transmission. It was totally the network. So sorry about the break in transmission. It was totally a network issue. It was totally unavoidable. It just came. I'm just praying that it doesn't show up again during the course of this training. Please, if you can hear me, tell me I can hear you, please. This network tonight will not succeed. Or will definitely hold this training, and our team will be blessed by this training. All right. Great. So back to what I was saying before network came in between the way. I was talking about the two recommended types of content structure that every real estate consultant must use to wield their influence. The idea is to come to a point where you become very influential, that you don't necessarily need to do a lot of direct response marketing. You now begin to do attractive marketing. Attractive marketing simply means you've come to a point where people by hearing the mention of your name, it brings a lot of credibility, and they want to do business with you because you've proven to a certain degree of point that you are an expert and you know what you're doing. So tonight we're going to look at very important types of content structure that many industry specialists has been using to build their influence, and of course been closing more deals. The best form of deals you can close are those type of deals that comes to you in the form of attraction. Like, they are attracted to you because of the kind of knowledge and the kind of content you drop on your personal pages daily. So those kind of leads, you don't struggle so much to close them. But you see those leads that you need to go to and begin to explain yourself to them. You begin to explain who you are. You begin to explain where you're from. You begin to explain, a lot of things. Those are the kind of leads that will stress the hell out of you. But if you've come to a point that people, just by dabbling into your social media page, will come into your inbox and begin to ask you about the product you sell and begin to tell you that they want to come visit these properties because of the kind of valuable content you've been dropping over time, that is the easiest way to close deals. And the thing is highly possible anybody to come to that point. But I'm going to set the tone rolling tonight. I'm going to tell you what you need to do for you to come to that point where you can begin to wield that kind of influence via content. So I was talking about written content and video content, and I was saying already that why am I recommending video and written content? Number one is because they are cost effective. They're not cost intensive. Number two is that you don't require any special technical skills for you to truly become good at these things. All you just need to do, like I said earlier, is your mind investment. You need to invest your mind a lot into what you're doing. And that is where the challenge is. Many salespeople think that sales is all about the whole physical activity. What do I mean by physical activity? I mean, waking up in the morning and going to speak to people about the product you're selling. That is actually one part of the whole sales process. The most important part of the sales process is the kind of content, the kind of education you give to your prospect at the point of meeting them. Bid you give your prospect is what forms 80% of the sales you make at the end of the day. Not even about the product here. So I was teaching some people last week, Monday. I was telling them that if you are in sales, if you're selling something, you're not in the business of sales, you're in the business of building relationships. And I will never stop hammering on this particular concept. You are in the business of relationships, not in the business of sales. So please write it down that me, Eliomo Johnson, I'm in the business of building relationships. I'm not in the business of sales. If you've come to that point of realization that you are in the business of building relationships, not in the business of selling a product, then you have experienced what we call the baptism of sales. You have been born again in this industry. But as long as you keep at the point that you think that you are in the business of selling a product, you will keep struggling, because at the end of the day, you will keep sounding very, very desperate and very, very salesy, right? You keep telling people buy, 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 and buy, buy, buy doesn't really, really. Please, if you can hear me, say I can hear you, sir, please. So I can hear you, sir. All right, thank you, Elimo. So, like I was saying earlier before the network came in between again, I'm so sorry about the whole little glitches here and there. I was saying that we are in the business, we that are in sales are in the business of building relationship. See, if there is no other thing you're going to go home tonight with, make sure you go home with tonight that with the knowledge that you are in the business of building relationship. Make sure you go to bed tonight with that singular, awareness and intentionality that you are in business of sales. Is going to help you a lot. So one of the fastest way to truly build formidable relationship with your prospect is through content. Now, content is not just about what I'm about to talk about this. Now, let me just digress a little bit. Content simply means what comes from you when you open your mouth. That is content. So when you hear people say they are content creators, most often times than not, what it means that they are people who are in the business of capturing themselves speaking or writing stuff. So at the end of the day, something must be coming out from your mind. That thing that is coming out from your mind through your mouth or through your pen is what is called content. So most often times than not, what helps you to build formidable relationships with people is the content that comes out of you. The question now is this: what is the value? What is the qualitative value of the content that is coming out from your mouth, coming out from your hand when you write? That's the question. Do you even see yourself as someone that could dish out very, very valuable content on your social media pages or offline when you meet people? Or have you decided to just settle for the least, which is talk about your product? Anybody that will buy, anybody that will not buy. That is the defeatist mindset. If you have resigned to just selling your product only, then I'm sorry for you. You might not make a lot of money at the end of the day, because the idea is to come to a point where you become a money making machine, right? Where you become somebody that is very, very likable, somebody that people want to interact, people want to recommend. And the only thing that can bring you to that point is the amount of content you carry. People are attracted to valuable people. So tonight, I'm going to set the ball rolling for you, right? I'm going to set the ball rolling for you so you can come to that point where you can become valuable for your audience. Mind you, the content you drop on your social media pages are not for you. I hear people say, it's my space, it's my opinion, anything I want to do on my timeline, I'll do that. Fine. Those who are not trying to be serious with their life can go on with those kind of precepts. They can go on with that kind of ideology. It doesn't hurt them. But not for you who is intentional, who has something he or she is pursuing. Somebody like you who has a goal, who has financial goals to meet up, cannot come and tell me that your timeline is your opinion. No, you don't even have that luxury any longer. Immediately you took up sales, you have decided to become disciplined. You have decided to live a life full of being responsible with every action you're going to drop, right? So your timeline, your social media pages are not for you, they are for your prospective audience. They are for your ideal client. Last week I talked about creating a customer avatar. I talked about understanding who your ideal client is. And I believe that at the end of this training, many of you are going to tell me the names you're already giving your ideal client again. So we can recap our minds and go back to what it means, right? So I believe that we have all come to a point where we have understood who our ideal client is. So tonight, I'm going to tell you how you can be able to get that ideal client fall in love with you via content, be it offline or online. But tonight I'm going to focus a little bit more on online because I'm talking about written content and video content. So let's dive straight into that. So about written content, right? About written content. Let's talk about written content. Written content. So what is actually written content? Written content simply means any content that is worded. That is written content. Written content is content that you are dropping on your social media pages that are worded. Yeah, that is written content. So you could write it just for itself, or you could attach it. You could write and attach a picture to it. So either way is a written content. So what is the best practices for crafting very much valuable and persuasive written content? Number one is that any content you are dropping on your social media pages must be thoroughly researched. Number one, say thoroughly researched. Somebody say thoroughly researched. Thoroughly researched. 1 minute, please. So, if you can hear me, please say you can hear me so that I can know we are together again. All right, so must be thoroughly researched. What that means is, for people to truly take you seriously, you must sound very, very intelligent about the subject matter you're writing about. There are so many people writing content online, but it's not all those content that have some sort of value attached to them. And that is why you see it now becomes like people choose this content they relate with online, because see one person's content being very much, having a lot of engagement, while the other person's content is having little to no engagement, because of the kind of mind value that you have been able to dispense on that content. So number one, it must be thoroughly researched. For example, you want to write about for example, you want to write about how to avoid, properties that are we want to write about land grabbing, for example, right? You want to write about land grabbing. It is important that you understand the history of land grabbing in relation to the city you want to talk about, right? You need to understand the history of land grabbing. You need to read case studies of people that have experienced land grabbing, at least one case study. You need to understand case studies about people that have experienced or that have been victims of land grabbing. Number three, you need to understand of the numbers, the financial implications of land grabbing. You need to understand the financial implications of the land grabbing. You need to understand the investment implications of land grabbing. You need to understand how to avoid or dictate, how to dictate a land that is, that is already bewildered with land grabbers. So this is what we call thorough research. You don't just fling your phone open and you begin to type about something that is not really valuable. So number one, your written content must be thoroughly researched. Number two, it must have a captivating headline. It must have a captivating headline. Remember, you're not writing this content for yourself, you're writing it for your ideal client. And I believe that if you were with us last week, Thursday, you must have understood how to create or how to determine your ideal client. So you must have very, very persuasive headline. So one thing I'll encourage us to do after tonight is go and research on how to write very persuasive headlines. So one of the easiest and the most relatable headline formulas is the how-tos. The how-tos kind of headline, like how to avoid land grabbers, or how to avoid land that is from land grabbers, or how to. So any written content that start with how to dot 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 is always a hot kind of headline. People will always want to read through the content. People always want to know, okay, what is this content talking about? How to's is a very hot way to begin your written content, your article, right? How to avoid, how to know, how to earn, how to visit, how to just make sure that the content you're about to write have, how to. Another kind of content formula that drags a lot of attention is number of ways to do this, right? 3 ways to, 14 ways to, 12 reasons why. So those kind of content also, headlines also have a way to, probably drag attention and get people to read your content. So you must have a very persuasive headline to your content. Now, there are other content formulas that are there that you can go and research about, right? So I just gave you 2 kind of headlines that will drag people to come read your in content. Number one is that it must be thorough research. Number two is that it must have persuasive headline to read. Number 3 is that it must come in short paragraphs. The content structure must come in short paragraphs. Preferably, let every paragraph, let every sentence be on its own. Like, let every sentence when it comes to writing on social media, people don't want to read it like they're reading later. I'm giving you a psychology of how people relate online. You can use yourself an example. Any content that has a lot of jam pack on it, like all the contents are lumped up together, you can truly agree with me that it's very difficult for you to read through. But when you're able to break your content into little to keep, so you want to make sure that the content you're writing will be read, right? So I'm giving the secrets that can help you write better. So number 3, you must write in very short paragraphs. Every point you are dropping must come in a very short sentence or short paragraph. This is how you win on your social media, right? Short paragraphs. In no particular order, though, I'm not giving you this in any particular. I'm just giving you the best practices on how to write very much valuable written content that will drive your influence and get people to want to listen to you and get people to want to come to your page every day. Number 4, make it a series. Make it a series. What do I mean by that? Very simple. Let your audience know that every Thursday by 6 p.m. you drop a very educative content about real estate. That's a series. Or let your audience know that every Tuesday and every Thursday, or every Monday and every Friday, or every Wednesday and every Saturday, that you must come online to drop a very educative content. Make it a series. This is where discipline comes in. My own is that I post every day. So necessarily, I might not be able to say, okay, my own is Thursday. So a series is something like our roundtable sessions Mondays and probably a Billion Corner Weekly. It's a series. So people now know that, okay, every Thursday by 9 p.m. I must tune in to learn something new about selling real estate, right? So you must make it a series. I'm teaching you the best practices on how to grow your influence